Welcome back to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. A change to our previously advertised schedule for anyone expecting the second part of our fans on the clock draft. It's still going. We've still got people on the clock, so we've not quite got to the end of it yet. So we'll be bringing
GM's taking the full 15 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of taking the full time. There's a lot of picks that would not have come in. But we've still got, obviously, a few teams left to pick. So we'll bring you part 2 next week. In the interim, Joe, Byron and I have scrambled around to go, well, what can we produce for this week? And imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And to pay homage to around the NFL, we're going to be taking a feature that those guys ran so well before for our very own Fictional Trades and GM Charades episode, where we're going to play out some potential trade conversations while acting as NFL GMs. Great idea, Byron. This is yours. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, always one of my highlights on ATM back in the day. But essentially, one of us is going to make a call to one of the other 2 people, and we'll be role-playing as GMs or head coaches, decision makers at that franchise. And I guess I'll go first since we're, talking about it anyway. We're just going to dive straight in, yeah?
Yeah, I guess so. There's not really anything else to discuss, is there? Should we tell the people where they can find the pod first? It's always good.
If they're listening to it, they've probably got some idea. But yeah, all your good podcast hosts, Apple, Spotify, Apple Podbean, Overcast. I was trying to think of the one I use. Overcast. You see us on YouTube, our beautiful smiling faces. And yeah, we're on social media everywhere you want to find us. GTW_GTC, Blue Sky, X, Instagram, TikTok. We need to get back on TikTok. Been a bit quiet through the off season on it. Not so much hot takes that we see a repeatable an actual outcome. So it's hard to be like, hey, look what we've called come in. But yeah, you can catch us on all those beautiful social platforms.
Good work.
Not just a pretty face. So yeah, like I say, I'm happy to kick us off. I think we've all got at least one. I've got 2 lined up. Maybe we can ad-lib some as we go as well if we decide to do a couple more towards the end. But I am going to be new Jacksonville Jaguars GM James Gladstone. And I'm going to wait for somebody to put their hands up to receive my call as Terry Fontenot, the Atlanta Falcons GM. And they can put their hand up by answering my call, because bring.
Hello.
Hello, is this Terry Fontenot?
Yes, who's this bothering me? I'm very busy, deep in draft preparation.
You have an incoming call from Duval.
You don't put me on hold. Do not put me on hold.
Hey, Terry, it's James Gladstone here. How's things down in A-Town?
All good. What do I owe the pleasure of a call from you?
You owe the pleasure of a call from me, because I have a solution for you. Everyone says the same thing every off-season. I heard the good teams win, great teams cover guys even had it on the clock draft. What do Atlanta need?
Don't tell me that we need pass rush. I'm sick of hearing that we need pass rush.
You need rid of Kirk Cousins, we all know that. Bad apple, and you need a pass rusher. And have I got the man for you? We've just given him a 5th-year option. But we could part ways with him. Trayvon Walker is a wonderful pass rusher, a former number 1 pick. He was taken ahead of Aiden Hutchinson, one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL, as is Trayvon. What are you going to do with your 15th pick? You're going to take a pass rusher. You're going to hope he's half the player that Trayvon Walker is. You're binning off Kirk Cousins. You can afford to pay Trayvon what he's worth. And we are ready to reload with young players. You're competing. You're taking a running back age for Terry. You ain't doing that if you ain't competing. So here's what I'm proposing to you. And I'm going to solve a second problem for you as well, Terry. I know you're impressed. I know you're impressed already. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to send us that 15th pick where you'd be wasting it on a young pass rusher who hasn't got the production that Trayvon has. In fact, you know Trayvon has had back-to-back seasons with double-digit sacks. Do you know who the last Atlanta Falcon to do that was?
I didn't realise this was going to be a pop quiz.
Oh, it's your franchise, Terry. That's right, it was John Abraham. And do you know when it was? It was 2008, Terry. You were probably still playing then. Trayvon Martin was 8 years old. You know, he was barely sacking people in Little League. And Trayvon's done it the last 2 years. You're telling me this guy isn't going to take your defense to an all-new level? Win that putrid division you can't win? 7 losing seasons in a row? You need a pass rusher who can contribute today. You're not going to find one better. Not going to find one. Trey Hendrickson's 48 years old. Waste of time. He ain't winning you anything. Trayvon is your man. So all you're going to do is package that 15th overall pick. You're going to send it over to Duval County. I'm not going to go full. Liam's an odd guy. We all know that. I'm not going to go there. And you get, in exchange, a premier pass rusher. But that's not all. You also get pick 70 early in the 3rd round. You get to maybe take a position player, take another running back. You love those guys over there. And I'll do you one better. And there is more. The piece to the resistance, the icing on the cake, and the candles lit. I will take that useless, bumbling tight end off your hands, Kyle Pitts. It's the last year of his deal. There's as much chance of Liam lasting 2 years in a team as there is of you giving him a 5th-year extension. It's not happening. It's been a stain on the franchise. Liam thinks he can get the best out of him. He said he got Cade Otton catching multiple balls in Tampa. I've never even heard of this Cade Otton. So we will take Kyle Pitts off your hands. He thinks he can reclaim him. You get that wonderful 3rd-round pick, number 70, juicy for A-Town. And all you give us is that 15th overall pick and Kyle Pitts. But, I mean, that's real. We're doing you a favour, getting him off your looks. And you get a premier pass rusher. What say you, Terry?
I don't know what we've done to have someone try and look out for us so much.
I'm a kind man.
We didn't get these kind of conversations with Trent when he was in the seat. So,
you know, I had to replug the phone in. Trent, it turns out, they didn't connect his phone when he even joined the firm. So, yeah.
The package you're offering is very intriguing. It's not a secret that we need some support with pass rush, but I like our options at 15. That may shock you to hear.
It does shock me to hear.
But I like our options at 15. And I sense you regretting not taking Aiden Hutchinson with that number 1 pick when you were telling me
if I was in the building, we wouldn't have passed. No. I wasn't in the building. I'm cleaning up old mess. But Trayvon is not mess. Trayvon is a double-digit sack guy.
Yeah, because it sounds like that you are looking to clear up some old mess. 4 years down the line. 4 years? Is it 4 years, Trayvon Walker?
He's had 3 seasons in the NFL. He's drafted in 2022.
Yeah, so 3 seasons. Buyer's remorse.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure.
Give him a 5th-year extension. We love the guy. I'm looking out for a fellow South Division man.
That's what we're doing here, yeah? Florida-Georgia line, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to get, or anybody's going to get that level of production, Trayvon Walker. I would rather take my chance with taking somebody at 15, potentially even maybe moving down at 15, depending how the board goes ahead of us, getting some more value out of that pick potentially, or taking what we believe is the best pass rusher available.
Well, you said it yourself, moving down from 15 to 70. It's less than 100 picks. And you lose Kyle Pitts. Is that guy not the worst thing in your dressing room other than Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, surprisingly not. We've got a lot of work to do over here in Atlanta. But pick 15 is a bit too rich for me.
Well, in such case, I wish you well and goodbye from Duval.
That was the best of the Duvals. That was the best of it. Talk to us about why, why I suppose trying to get rid of the Jags trying to get rid of Trayvon Walker.
So this is. I've taken off my Jags cap. It's back to Byron. I know you thought that was James Gladstone. That actually was me impersonating the man. I think this would be very generally beneficial for both. And that's where I was kind of trying to look for these trades. Was like, who has a need? I think the Jags have got a. I said this on a few of our shows. I don't think the Jags have any huge areas of weakness, but they haven't got like any huge areas of strength either. They're kind of like that. Everything's kind of at the same level. And I think getting the opportunity to reload if they can use pick 5 and 15, I think there's a small chance they can get Abdul Carter at 5. A small chance. I think there's just some medical concerns that might come to light. If the Giants go quarterback, I think New England might go tackle. Like I say, small chance. I'm not saying it's a banker. If you can get Abdul Carter there, then less need for Trayvon Walker, obviously. But even if you can't, I think they can pull in younger. Kind of like what you were saying, Atlanta can do it at 15. But I'm just figuring there's maybe more urgency in Atlanta to get it done. Might be wrong. Kyle Pitts a bit of a throw-in. They got rid of Evan Ingram. They need someone who can do that. I think Evan Ingram is going to be traded maybe on draft day. Probably for I think the value there would have placed him at like a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, which I think is roughly what he's going to go for because Atlanta don't want to pay him. And someone will probably want to take a flyer on him as a 1-year rental. Might be the Jags, might be the Chargers. Might be Dallas, like somebody who could use a tight end with low expectations, but he has got upside. He's hit it before in his rookie year, obviously, but he's looked kind of disinterested and unfit since. And it's no secret that Atlanta need a pass rush, so I thought it might be relatively mutual. I think 15 would be too much to give up, also, but, on these kind of shows, I'm not going to go with, I wanted to kind of start with a kind of explosive he won. Joe, any thoughts as a neutral observer?
Yeah. When you said the 15 pick for Trayvon Walker, that was a bit of a shock, and it would have been a bit of a surprise. The Jags would have certainly won that trade if the Falcons GM did accept that, but he came to his senses. Even though they might want to be getting rid of Kyle Pitts, I think very steep to give up a 15th overall pick for a player who's not really, produced as a first. And but it just doesn't feel like he's, I don't know. It's that.
I was surprised when I seen that.
Yeah. It's just it bears that risk because there's plenty of times where players play well near the end of the contract, they get traded, and then suddenly shit, what have we done? So, but
and he was also front of mind because he just got his 5th-year contract picked up, his tag picked up on his 5th year. So he was kind of front of mind. I was like, I didn't really realise that was coming around so soon. Let's see what we can do with Trayvon Walker, and obviously Atlanta are automatic thought. I was thinking of doing it as instead of 70, do 36. I thought that might be more of a tough decision, just moving back 20. But I was like, I don't know if I'd actually give him up for that because he has been getting double-digit sacks, even if he's been a bit unheralded doing so. And the Aiden Hutchinson thing will stick around with him his entire career. But it's a little unfair as well because you kind of just have to judge him on himself. But it's very tough to do so because Aiden Hutchinson's fucking great. And he's not. He's just good.
Fair enough. Good stuff. Right, should we hand it over to Joe? Joe, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll be the GM of the Indianapolis Colts, Christopher R. Ballard, Chris Ballard, and Byron. I was going to say Byron. You're going to be Omar Khan for the Pittsburgh Steelers GM. And we'll see how this goes. So.
You said Khan, and I thought I was back in Jacksonville. I thought I was going to have to do another Duval. Okay, sorry.
Ling.
Steel City, how can we help?
Hi, it's Chris Ballard. Is the man in charge there?
Aaron Rodgers has not officially signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers yet. I can put you on to Omar Khan, though.
Oh, what about Tomlin? I think he's the man in charge, isn't he? Not that...
Aaron Rodgers has made clear we must declare he is the man in charge when he signs. If he signs.
Well, funnily enough, this is why I'm calling. It's we're just looking around, seeing what people are interested in, and we've certainly got a player who, former 1st-round pick, QB where we know it's a position you need, and I'm not talking about Daniel Jones. Don't get too excited. We think he's definitely going to compete and maybe be our number one. We're floating out our former 4th pick, Mr. Anthony Richardson.
The running back?
Not the running back, the QB.
Oh.
Where we're wondering what if any teams would be willing to, do a little deal. We know we're not really telling the press this, but I think we've given up on him. And we're thinking that we could. There's a lot of teams who could turn him around, and we're just not that team. The owner wants a change. You know what he's like. Every single day, yeah, exactly. I've got plenty of dirt on him, so if anything does happen badly,
that's why you're still there.
That's why I'm still here.
We've all wondered. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just wheeling and dealing, and just you just need to keep that dirt to keep your job.
Yeah.
And there's a player over your
We have Arthur
end as
Smith.
well.
We know how it is.
Yeah. And we've got a player. You've got a player who also is in a similar boat. How I think you guys are wanting to get out of. You've just traded for a player, and I heard there's been some rumblings in that changing rooms that George Pickens there. He's not too happy. He's not
Crazy George.
Yeah, he's not a Pittsburgh guy. Mike's getting a bit annoyed with him. He's finally, with these wide receivers, it can only last so long. So the trade we're offering, you need a QB. Why would you want to wait around for that, Mr. Aaron Rodgers? You've just said right there. We can take it offline if he is listening in. We can go to a different phone line. But why would you want that guy? Mr. Pat McAfee. He's probably somewhere in South America now, not answering any of your calls, not giving you any indications. Why do you need that headache? Does Mike need that headache? He's a guy he's securing his job. Let's be honest, he's probably you going to be gone before him. So let's give him a guy who, when was the last time you guys were relevant? You had a 6'4" plus quarterback, 240 pounds plus.
Year.
Yeah, come on, but you know what people are saying about it behind your back. That 7th seed was invented for the Pittsburgh Steelers to get the ratings up. You don't do anything. You need to become that team, Pittsburgh proud, and we're willing to give you Anthony Richardson to do that, to get a big fella behind that O-line, what the fans all love. So I'm offering Anthony Richardson and a 2027 comp pick for George Pickens, as we need a wide receiver. We need Daniel Jones, all the weapons he can have, but your 3rd round pick and a 6th 2026 comp pick. What do you think of these offers?
Well, I'd love to know what that 2027 conditional pick is and what the conditions are.
Well, it's a comp pick. We'll say if Anthony Richardson wins, gets you to the playoffs.
He will.
Well,
Mike Tomlin could get you to the playoffs.
Well, that's why we're only offering a small 7th rounder, which would jump up to a 6. So we basically would swap 6th rounders if.
So you offer me nothing in the future, is what I'm hearing. So
Basically.
we're essentially doing a direct swap. Richardson for Pickens.
And a 3rd round pick this year.
So you give us Anthony Richardson and your pick 80.
Yes.
And we give you George Pickens.
No, you give us the 3rd round pick and George Pickens for Anthony Richardson.
Chris, have you broke into Jim's liquor cabinet?
What's wrong with Anthony Richardson? You haven't got a quarterback.
You tell me. You're replacing him with Daniel Jones, who's one vertebrae away from being paralysed.
He's another 1st rounder. We see plenty of potential in that guy. He just needs a break. He's the new Sam Darnold.
Again, if he has one more break, he's going to be Christopher Reeve. It's a walking neck injury.
That's our starting QB you're talking about there.
Honestly, I think we might be better off just keeping Mason Rudolph as a starting QB at this point.
Well, other than Anthony Richardson, are you mad?
Well, Anthony Richardson is okay, but there's a reason you want out after 2 years. There's a reason he's what. You say you're giving up on him. He was giving up on his team, and then comes out and admits it.
But who said that?
Anthony Richardson did.
Do you believe anything what Pat McAfee says nowadays? You know what he's saying? All these
Anthony
lies.
Richardson himself said he needed a breather. He's a young man. I need a breather, but I'm a fat old GM. Anthony Richardson
not last
is
time
a
I
prime.
saw you. You must have.
Well,
pissed
yeah,
something
I mean,
else,
compared to Anthony Richardson, obviously I'm in divine shape for my age. I'm a 48-year-old New Orleanser. I've eaten boy. But I ain't sending a pick with George Pickens. George Pickens produces in this league. Yeah, he's a little kooky. Yeah, he might punch a coordinator, but he produces. Anthony Richardson has produced nothing but embarrassment for your organisation. You swing us that pick 80, we'll take him on as a project and see what we get out of him. But if you're asking us to give anything up along with George, we love George. Wonderful young man.
No, you don't love George.
Bright,
let's be
bright
honest
guy.
here. Bright. That's why you brought in Mr. DK Metcalf to, because you know how wide receivers are. Are you anticipating a blossoming relationship there?
100%.
With Mason Rudolph as quarterback. You know,
1,000%.
DK's going to get angry. You know, we all know what Rudolph. He couldn't even beat out that guy from Tennessee, the Mayo guy.
The Mayo
How is he
kid,
gonna? How is he going to produce in Pittsburgh?
Okay, Rudolph was a better quarterback than the Mayo boy, and that was Bobby Callahan's son making these decisions. They didn't even trust him in Cincinnati to call a play. I'm not having that as a stain on Mason Rudolph, the best Rudolph to come out of the world since a deer. Not a chance. We say no to this deal, and I think Jim needs to get a better key on his liquor cabinet, is all I'm going to say to you, Chris. Good luck, keep your job for another 10 years, never win the division.
Okay, on to the next team.
Oh dear.
Hello, Aaron? Please.
These negotiations aren't going very well.
That's probably why we're not GMs.
This is probably why we're not.
Yeah.
Got a little personal there as well, I think.
It did a little bit. It felt like that was more underlying Joe and Byron issues than.
Yeah.
Someone, Paul, neutral observer, who's taking what there? And who should be taking what?
Well, I suppose we talked a little bit around Anthony Richardson's potentially precarious position on the back of free agency with Daniel Jones coming in, and this really is last chance saloon for him.
Yeah.
I think the Colts could conceivably get something. Considering they invested the 4th overall pick in him 2 years ago, if they could get something decent back for him, I wouldn't be surprised if they're making those or having those conversations to try and flip him, and look at saying, well, we have Daniel Jones for a bit, and then maybe we move on and try somebody else in the draft moving forward. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Again, there was a lot going on there. So Pickens and a third from the Steelers for Richardson and a comp pick.
The comp picks were
for playoff qualification.
3 years away.
In 3 years time. Is that where we got to?
Well,
it was nothing.
It always happens in these random trades, just some random conditionals in the back end. Yeah, I'm curious. What do you think Richardson would actually get? Let's take out the Steelers and everything. What's the most he probably could get from a team? I think they could still get a second rounder. If Trey Lance could get a third.
Trey Lance got a fourth from Dallas.
Sorry.
From Dallas.
So that's like a 6th anywhere else.
Mac Jones was a 6th. Justin Fields was a 6th.
But I don't think he's
Zach
that
Wilson
level
was a
yet. I don't think
he's worse
that
than Justin
Anthony
Fields.
Richardson.
Fields
Yeah, but I still feel like Anthony Richardson's very not had the off season. He's not had.
I totally agree. Well, I think a lot relatively to Paul, especially. I'm willing to give Richardson a little more leeway, but I don't think NFL decision makers are in that mindset. Because it's all well and good that you took him on as a project, Indianapolis, but if we're taking him on as a project 2 years down the line with little improvement, we want to see a heavy discount. It's kind of how I feel about it. I think, depending on how real the Pickens uncomfortableness in Pittsburgh is, I think that in its bones is a really nice trade offer, just straight up 1-for-1. I remember a few years ago, obviously, New England traded Jacoby Brissett to Indianapolis for Philip Dorsett, who was an underwhelming wide receiver who'd been a first-round pick. And that's what I'm kind of seeing with Anthony Richardson is might be a wide receiver, might be similar level of player at a different position, maybe tight end actually, what they need, of kind of two players that neither teams are happy with, just completely swap. So yeah, I kind of like the Pickens thing, but I think his value's probably about a third. I think that's probably what you'll get for Richardson is probably a third or a fourth.
What about Pickens in a 5th? Because Pickens in the last year of his contract as well, so there's that. Because he's not, and Richardson's
possibly
only in his third year.
That maybe would have got it done. Yeah.
Because if you're getting someone like Anthony Richardson like in the 5th round, in a draft UB as a project and whatnot, there'll be plenty of QBs taken in this draft who's around that, and he's got the physical traits which a lot of them don't have. So
yeah. And they've shown a willingness by having Justin Fields last year to, have that kind of quarterback who's more legs than arm.
Yeah. I think it'd be the Roethlisberger point two. Big fella.
Hopefully just on the field.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Don't want to get Omar Khan sued, so I'm going to stop there. But yeah, I think that was a bones of a really good offer. Paul, do you want to give Joe a call with your?
Well, yeah, might go a bit slightly off piste here, and we'll see if your.
Oh yes, love it.
Is correct. And I'm not going to do. I was considering doing a full Jerry Jones impression, but I'm not doing it.
You can do a partial to say hello at least, all right?
This might be a shit because I feel like I'm just going to sound like Forrest Gump, so we're not doing it. The drawn out, slow drawl, I think, is where we're going to get with it. So we're not doing it. But Jerry is going to be making a phone call to the New York Jets. So, you can play the role of GM of the New York Jets if you want, but I feel this conversation wouldn't have the GM of the New York Jets involved in it, to be honest. But
okay.
If the Cowboys and Jets were speaking on a trade. I've got my phone. Let's just use the actual phone. Ring, 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 ring. Just a very terrible generic ringtone.
Hello, New York Jets.
I'd like to speak to the people that are in charge of the organisation, please. Is Jack and Brick Johnson available?
No one's been in charge of the New York Jets for the last 50 years. Have you not seen our organisation? I could give you the owner, though.
But Woody on, I like the way you guys do business. We don't deal with GMs either, so let's speak to Woody.
Woody here.
For some reason I thought he was going to do the full Woody from Toy Story route. Anyway, Woody, Jerry here. Jerry here from Dallas. How's it going over there in the Big Apple?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm still waiting for my new job with the White House, but no one seems to be calling, so don't know what's happening there.
Well, I will gladly have a conversation with you if Trump and co. don't want to get you involved in the administration. We've got some business we can be getting down to. Now, I see you guys really struggling to make that leap into the postseason. It's been a while. We like getting there and not winning, but you've got to get there first. You need some resources, I think, to help build the Jets. You've just come off a false dawn with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and cleaning up that mess. How's that going, cleaning up all of that? We're just trying
to make the Jets great again. We've got a new head coach, and we don't really talk about the Aaron Rodgers over here. He's not part of it. We don't like him. He's gone.
Madge is a great slogan. I wish somebody else had come up with that. You need some resources, and you're in a position where you might have to pay some people soon, and I think I can help you out with that. Now, your coach seems to think you've got quite the stable of running backs over there. What a guy Aaron Glenn is. Great find, great hire. But he seems to think you've got a stable of running backs. I think you've maybe got a bit of a surplus, and this is the opportunity to get something back for one of them before you have to stump up the Wonga and make him one of the highest paid players at the position coming up. We'd like to take Breece Hall off your hands, Woody.
Sorry, what was that? Come again?
Well, we would like to take Breece Hall off your hands. We want to solve a problem for you. A cash problem.
You trying to say we're poor?
I mean, look. I know there's a lot of money over there in New York, but it's not the oil money like there is down here in Dallas. We want to take Breece Hall off your hands and give you some more resources to attack the draft with. We think Breece would be a good addition here over in Dallas. We've got a couple of running backs ourselves over here, but we think Breece can help us. We don't think we're in a position to get...
He's a good guy.
We don't think you're in a position to have the luxury of a running back like Breece, so why not get the most out of him in draft capital and go rebuild your team?
Okay, what you offering? I'm a negotiator.
And most importantly, one of the factors you need to take into account, and I'm sure Brick and Jack will be whispering in your ear, is Breece Hall's Madden rating dropped by 3 points over the course of the season.
Boys, you didn't tell me that, did you? Oh, they're just playing Madden now. Just trying to get all the facts right.
We'll be back in a minute. They're doing their scouting for you. We would like to offer you, I think, a fair and reasonable package for Breece to make him a member of America's team. We think our third pick at 70, and I've just lost the sheet, 76. 73.
Oh, sorry, Dallas, 76.
Yeah, it was 76. I knew it was 76. Our third round pick at 76 in this year's draft, tagged with one of our many 6th round picks, and I'll do the 204 pick. Send them over to you. You guys bundle that up, make another trade maybe to move up the board, or extend that to have 10 picks in the draft. Helps get a rebuild moving. Any recent mistakes you've made, you've got the chance to rectify. We take a player off your hands that you're going to have to pay shortly. We've no problem in wasting money on players that need paying. Woody, what do you think?
It's interesting. Interesting indeed. A lot of people say our family members are running our teams, but that's just not true. Look at us here now, figuring out the future. And do I want to make the Jets worse off right now and pretend and go back and get a running back later on and then pretend that was the plan all along? Let's do it. Let's do the trade.
Excellent.
Love negotiation.
Excellent. I look forward to being in a contract standoff with Breece Hall next off-season. Excellent. And see, Byron, was that I assume that was the trade that you thought? No?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I pasted it in our chat, yeah. Breece Hall to Dallas, absolutely nailed on.
Yeah. I feel like obviously the Cowboys are not in a position where, they're not going to get a shot at Gentry unless they move. I think there might be some crazy where they just... It's been such a long time since they've done something splashy and wild, and I think he might crack and try it. And the Dallas do have, like I said, a lot of those late round draft picks. Obviously, they've used some of them in trades and got picks back already. And I think a 3rd and a 6th is fair for Breece Hall, given where both teams are at. What did McCaffrey go for, Joe? A 2nd, 3rd, and 4th?
Oh, put him on the
I think
spot
it was,
there.
wasn't it? 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then an additional one the year after, which was maybe a 5th.
Yeah, something like that. After.
So it's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then a 5th, and that was a couple of years ago. And I wouldn't say that Breece Hall is at the level that CMC was at the time of trade, and there's obviously been other potential trades, but that's the biggest running back one that springs to mind.
But it is Jerry Jones who traded a 4th round for Trey Lance, as we just mentioned, and traded a lot
Jonathan Mingo.
And Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah. So
A 3rd for a good
Jets,
player is...
Yeah. If Jets were, a team in order and he didn't go straight to Woody Johnson, not the GM, they may have tried to have got at least a 2nd out of second and a fourth, maybe just to bump it up a little bit and see what Jerry would have done. Because he loves to be in the news. Loves to be in the news. So
could have played a bit hardball, and there's just no way that conversation happens with Darren Morgie even, because it just wouldn't, would it? Like, yeah, wouldn't even be in the room when that conversation was happening as the New York Jets general manager. But yeah, I think like, is it going to happen? Probably not. But you know, I think that's an interesting one to play through with the need that the Cowboys have, and yeah, the Jets just kind of being a bit stuck again, I think.
And Aaron Glenn's spoken about wanting to use the committee.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
horrible fantasy implications for Breece Hall.
Much better ones in Dallas. I think it's a great fit. I think you've done well to negotiate that there. Well done, both of you. And I could see this one actually happening.
Yeah, I'd love to see that one play through on before or possibly on draft night, but we'll see. Cool. Right, I'm out now. I'm no more. So I sense there is a couple of others.
I have one more. Joe, do you have any more?
Yeah, I've got one more. If we need to do one more, I can do one.
Well, let's put the pressure on. Paul can think of one whilst we are doing our roleplays.
5's plenty.
6
That's
is
enough.
plenty.
Yeah.
Well, Paul's coming up with one up on the hoof, and we'll get on with... Do you want to go next, or do you want me to, Joe?
I'll let you go next.
Cool, and I'm calling you, because I've already called Paul. So, you are going to be Johnny Schneider in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest. And I'm going to be Peter Carroll in Vegas.
Okay.
Should have got some gum for the effect, but I don't have gum. But anyway.
That'd be horrible for the audio.
Yeah, I hated the chewing noises on the Wings episode, but at least that was dedicated as a Wing episode. Yeah, people shouldn't be getting chewed at on a regular program.
You'd have to turn around and just launch the gum at the wall at some point as well.
Well, if John says no, that might happen. Anyway. Bring.
Hey, Schneid's here. How can I help?
Schneider, you know who this is? It's a chew master.
Who's that, Bill Belichick?
God damn it, I'm gonna chew you up, boy. It's Pete Carroll.
Okay, yeah. How you doing, Pete?
Yeah, you know who I am. You thought, we're gonna get younger, we're gonna get sexier, we're gonna make the playoffs. We got old McDonald coming in, and what happened? Nothing. No playoffs. You foisted me out, and you got nothing for it. You got rid of Geno. I got my Geno back. You got rid of DK. You're selling the farm. You're making it younger. Your team sucks, and everybody knows it, John. But how are you doing, friend?
You know, living the life in Washington here. It's, all groovy. Been in this job a long time. I just don't want to go the way of you. One person's got to go, and sorry, Pete, it had to be you.
Well, I've gone to a winning organization. I got Johnny Spytek and Tom Brady calling my shots. Not some man who hasn't made the playoffs in 2 years.
Sorry, have the Raiders traded you to a winning team then, or have you got...
Oh, we're going to be a winning team, baby. Don't you worry about that. Just win, baby. It was good enough for Al Davis. It's good enough for Pete goddamn Carroll. And to help us get on our winning ways, there's two things we know. Seattle is a loser team right now. You have the ghost boy at quarterback. You're curing these mid-round draft picks all day long. You don't care about winning this year. Mike McDonald ain't gonna win shit. You don't replace a legend like Pete Carroll and win. We've all seen it. And here's another thing I know. You ain't paying any good players, and you've got a good player coming up out of contract. Kenny goddamn Walker. You forced me to take Zach Charbonnet a year after we took Walker. Walker comes out and gets 1,200 yards as a rookie. We have a second-round pick. We could take anybody. And you forced me to use Zach Charbonnet? Well, you love him. You love Charbonnet. You made me use him. We still get 1,100 yards out of Walker, 1,200 yards out of Walker. I leave town. Kenny Walker puts up half of it, and he still outperforms your boy, Zach Charbonnet. So obviously you're going to pay Charbonnet. You're going to keep him there. I'll take Walker off your hands. You don't respect him. You don't love him. It's Geno 2.0. You're acquiring all these mid-round, late-round picks. You've got 1 year left on Kenny Walker. What are you guys doing this year? You're trying to get Archie Manning in the building? Is that what the plan is for 2027? Because Sam Darnold ain't winning your games. We know it, John. So here's what I'll do. I'll give you 143, our 5th round pick. I'll give you 180 as well. You don't have a 6th round pick. Take that as well. And you just send us over Kenny Walker. He's doing nothing for you this year. You're not paying him at the end of this year. We need a running back. You know how much I love to run the ball. Don't you mention Don't you mention the goddamn Super Bowl.
Well, I was just about to say that. I wish I forced you running back down your throat in that game as well.
We agreed. We had a three-way handshake. Russ was going to be the star of the goddamn NFL.
And look at him now.
Look at
just
him
like
now. What
you,
a fucking bum.
Kick to the curb. Just like you, kick to the curb.
The Big Apple. Las Vegas. Oh, how are we going to cope outside of the rainy city? We're doing just goddamn fine.
Pete, we know what you're going to be in Raiders. You're going to be there, 1, 2 years? You'll be 102 by then. But you know what?
I can out-bench press you when I'm dead in the grave.
And I'll still be at the Seahawks, and you will not be here. So just stop being jealous. But you know what? Let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'll give you Kenneth Walker. You just get me a suite at one of those fancy Vegas hotels when I come by this year, and for the 5th and 6th, that'd be a great little offer. So let's make that deal.
Gino and Kenny back to fucking together. Let's go. Carol out.
It's powerful stuff. Commitment to the part, Byron, was incredible. Have you ever heard Pete Carroll speak?
No. Does he have a British accent?
I was about to say, to be honest, I don't think any of the people we've sounds like the characters we've tried to.
Jerry was the best shot at his accurate impression, I think, as well, but I just was not doing it.
I think that was a good deal. Kenneth Walker, they're not going to pay.
Yeah.
I'm pleased you didn't try and drag me over the course, try and get an earlier pick. I think Pete Carroll loves Zach Charbonnet as well, but I had to throw in that he hates him because it's narrative.
Yeah. Like Kenneth Walker, has been injured quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is he actually he probably is a top 10 running back, but be like the high right at the back end. So you're not going to get.
If he's fully fit, he probably is. But
yeah. To get 5th and a 6th, you'll be out. And how this draft is with a lot of running backs available, I think they'll snap their hands off and
Nice. Any thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, just getting the band back together.
Exactly. Got Gino, got Kenny. Ty Lockett's still a free agent, but I think we're going to bring him in. Even if it's just as a consultant.
Yeah. I think that's a potential trade. Wonder if it's like a in-season move one, potentially.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker out one close to start of the season, but again, I think trying to maximise the value of him. What do you get out of him for a year? And then versus what you can get for him now. So, yeah, again, it makes sense. Makes sense to go back to again a lot of people he's familiar with. The old ties from Seattle. So, would love for him just to not be hurt. To be fair, it'd be nice to see. I know you're a big fan, but yeah, it'd just be great to see him a season where he just doesn't get hurt.
Grand. Well, we have at least one more.
One more.
Joe, I think you called him Paul. Did you call me last time? You called me as Omar Khan, yes.
Yep, Paul. Okay.
And Paul's still working on his, right?
No.
So, Paul, you're going to be doing a repeat performance. You're going to be the Falcons GM.
Oh, I thought I was going to get to be Jerry again.
Unfortunately not. We won't be seeing the accent. And
you can do your Jerry impression for Terry. Jerry Fontenot.
Exactly. And I'll be the Jets GM this time. As a Darren Muge? Is it Muge? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Should we go with that? Okay. Cool. Alright. Ling ling. Ling ling. Ling ling.
That phone sounds great. Hey there.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Darren Mowgli. It's Mogi. We'll go with that.
The man doesn't even know his own name. This is going to go well. How are you doing, Darren?
I'm not well. I've had better days. The owner himself is basically doing my job for me. not quite sure I'm doing, twiddling my thumbs here. But I thought I'd try and actually do something, get some good media in the New York, because, so the trade what Buddy's just done with the Dallas Cowboys, it's not gonna be good. So we've got to do something, and I thought I'd ring you up to, chat about one of your players, which, I've heard other GMs talk about him, some weird guy from Jacksonville, this James Gladstone. He doesn't really know what he's doing. I know he's a fellow new GM, but, sounds like he was a weird phone call, and a lot of people are not taking. Have you seen that head coach they got? Yeah, both of them are pretty weird. But I'm calling about that Kyle Pitts fella. He's not really performed for you at all. And here with the Jets, we keep passing on tight ends, and people keep telling us we shouldn't have, and going for offensive tackles, and we're trying to be smart. But we do need to get a tight end. And we see Kyle Pitts joining our new quarterback, Fields, and having a brilliant tandem. So first of all, is Kyle Pitts available? The Falcons seem to love him and give him all these chances, but are you going to finally get rid of him? You need defense. You need defense, son.
We can have a conversation about Kyle Pitts. Absolutely. We'll see what you've got to offer us. But first of all, Darren, commiserations. I know there are only 32 of these jobs in the NFL. Boy, you've got a tough one there. Best of luck with Woody and the kids and New York and the dumpster fire that is the franchise. I see where you're going. You want to take Pitts to the pits. So What have you got for me for Kyle?
Well, I'm just looking forward to be sitting on the beach in a year or two's time after my big contract and just enjoying life. But you got to do something nowadays. Like I said, Woody's taking over, and I'm just trying to work out here, and it's but okay, let's get back to this trade. So for Kyle, I need another one of your players as well. Let's throw Tyler Algier in as well, because we've just lost our best running back. You're going to find out tomorrow just what Woody's done. So, give me Tyler Algier.
We like Tyler. We really, really like Tyler. So much so that we won't put the ball in Bijan's hands at time. We like him that much. But we like Tyler. So where's this going, Darren? What's going on?
So, I'm going to give you an offer.
Is it going to be one I can't refuse?
Oh, yeah. Well, we are in New York, so, let's not do this year's draft, because we've not actually got that many draft picks. Having a look. Oh, no, we do. What am I about? I was looking at yours draft picks. You haven't got many, so let's do something good. Okay, let's go with a conditional 4th round pick, 110th. And if Pitts gets 650 receiving yards and Algier gets 500 rushing yards, that'll be next year. So that's a good point. 2026. Let's think about this, because we don't know. Okay, so 2026, we'll give you our 4th right now. However, if Kyle Pitts gets 1,000 yards and Tyler Algier gets 600 rushing yards, you can have our 2nd. 2026 2nd. Since we haven't got 3rd.
Where have 350 receiving yards just come from?
Well, I was going to go 4th to 3rd, but then I realised we haven't got our 3rd in 2026, so...
Okay, well, let's take this a step back. Okay, you're looking to take our starting tight end, running back to...
A bum tight end, and has been running back.
He can't be that much of a bum if you want him, can he? So... We've got his starting tight end and I'm running back 2 that you want him to take. And if they somehow perform miracles for the New York Jets, we might get a 2nd round draft pick.
Isn't that a good deal?
12 months' time.
Yep, you're not going to pay Kyle Pitts. He's going to be gone anyway after next year. He's probably going to get you, another 300 yards? 400 yards? But with the Jets, he could easily get 9 to 1,000 yards. You know what I mean? It's.
Well, you was about to say 9,000 then.
Well, you never know in his career. We'll see big things for him.
Okay. Let's try this. Look, Kyle. Maybe a fresh start for Kyle is best for all of us. That he moves on to pastures new. We're keeping Tyler. Tyler is no longer part of this conversation. We like him. Did a good job for us starting. He's backing up Bijan. It's a good 1-2 punch. We need that. So Tyler Algier is off. But Kyle, for a fair price, can be yours. Maybe he'll work well with Justin Fields over there. I think he could work very well with Michael Penix Jr. here. Maybe just needed a lefty all along. Maybe that was the issue.
Yeah, it was good with Kirk Cousins as well, and he was going to be good with this fella and that fella and every other quarterback you've had. Okay, if it's just Kyle Pitts, let's go 2026 fifth round with the condition if he gets 600 receiving yards, which he has got the last few years. It'll go up to a 2026 fourth.
Okay. Let's meet in the middle because we are short of draft picks. We're short of draft picks for this draft.
Okay, so
what have you got
for
this
draft?
year? We've got first, a second, a fourth, and 2 sevenths. So
we'll give you a fifth, 162nd.
5 at 167. Where's your fourth at?
I ain't telling you that.
I mean, I can just look it up on the chart, but it's not.
It's 110. It's 110th. We ain't going that low.
Okay.
Or that high for him.
Fifth, and you have a year of Kyle Pitts. If it works out well, you get to sign him at probably a fair rate. I'll shake your hand right now. Done deal. Pitts to the Jets for a fifth in 2025.
Boom. It wasn't even our highest fifth as well. That's how you negotiate. Byron, what do you think? Fifth round, 162nd overall. As the Jags, as former Jags GM who wanted Kyle Pitts also, would you have gone that high in the draft for him?
Yeah, I mean, I would have given up our 142 for him, so... You've had your pants pulled down, Terry. Yeah, I think, again, Jets need a tight end, low cost. I think you maybe could have tried to go throw in a conditional, maybe something extra, like, you know, if he gets X amount of yards, we get an extra fourth next year or something like that, maybe. But I think
1,000 though. He's never getting
well, somewhere between 300 and 1,000, depending on what breath Joe was taking, obviously.
He's got 1,000 once before in one season.
Yeah, indeed. Do you want to hear a fun fact about Kyle Pitts as well? He's played 4 seasons in the NFL. In his first season, he caught 1 touchdown. In his second season, he caught 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
In his third season, he caught 3 touchdowns. In his fourth season, he caught 4 touchdowns. So this year,
that's where the condition should have been 5 touchdowns.
5 touchdowns coming up.
There you go.
Yeah, I think a fifth round is a great price to pay for him. I don't know if I'd pay a third or more, so maybe a fourth is probably about fair. Fifth is, I think, a little advantageous to the team getting him, but it's been a wild ride with Kyle Pitts, yeah, so you'd certainly know banker, you're getting a great player. So.
And I think it's the contract again, isn't it? I think that's the thing, that if you do, whatever you trade, you're going to have to, he's going to want to, again, he's not a top tight end, but he's got the name recognition where he wants at least a decent contract. He's not going to take bottom of the barrel, cheap tight end kind of contract. So.
And I know we've kind of touched on it, just getting away slightly from the calls. Like, you know, it's kind of the issue with like Loveland and Warren as well. Like, you take them top 10 and you're paying them elite tight end money immediately, and it's like, well, if they hit, that's great. But I mean, you're looking like Jamar Chase was taken after Kyle Pitts in itself is a mistake, but like they're both getting paid like not the same amount, it's still positional, but like Jamar Chase isn't being paid like an elite wide receiver immediately. Kyle Pitts is being paid like an elite tight end immediately. Like, you don't get that positional advantage in the rookie drafts, and it can even be like a bit of a, what we're kind of saying with Kyle Pitts is like it can be kind of an anchor to their value as well, because like he's used to getting this much money per year. Well, he doesn't want to suddenly become a veteran minimum, but his play hasn't indicated he should be getting tight end elite money. So, but yeah, good calls all around, and we've just got Paul's last one to go.
Last one. I'm not got an additional one on the spot. I guess some, look, not to act out, but I guess some of them potentially that could be moved. I suppose we touched on Pickens. What about maybe like the Packers maybe moving on from someone like
Jay Alexander?
Yeah, Alexander.
Talk about
Walker, maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's obviously Mr. Mayo himself, who we mentioned. Curious where. Like, I've heard the Vikings might be interested. Obviously, it'll be a low, or it might be like a pick swap
Yeah.
for Levis, and someone like Kirk Cousins, which is obviously going to be big news. Curious with his contract, how, and coming off the injury, how much. What I've seen is like a 4th round is about, but I don't know, is that a bit too much for the Browns, a 4th rounder?
I think that's maybe
gamble.
too much if they can. It depends how much money Atlanta are going to eat, I think. But yeah, I think I go around the 4th, 5th. Yeah, I think that's kind of an open secret at this point, isn't it? Cousins going to be a Brown, as long as they don't take a quarterback on day 1. Or probably day 2 as well, truthfully. I think Kirk Cousins will just have to piss off if they were to get a, Jackson Dart at the start of day 2. Yeah, Pickens I could see moving. I think Kyle Pitts I could definitely see moving draft day. Did have some others in mind. Let me pull the list.
One, I know we touched on the Cowboys making a fictional trade for Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons still hasn't been signed yet, and it's likely to rumble on. Is there a world where the Cowboys maybe try and recoup some draft capital for Micah Parsons? I don't think they do it pre-draft now. I think it's too late, or getting too late. Well, it's never too late in the NFL, is it? But that, I think, would massively change your draft strategy if you suddenly got in at least another first for Micah Parsons. But yeah, is that possible? Do you think that Parsons ends up being traded if they can't get a deal done?
I think it's possible, but unlikely. Obviously, I guess. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I just don't think it's very likely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out experience. Obviously, Khalil Mack comes to mind in terms of like that huge trade for an edge. And I think what did they get? They got 2 first-round picks, a 3rd and a 6th for Khalil Mack and a 2nd back. So at least get 2. I feel like Parsons could get a look like. Would he get 3? Or would he? But with the contract, it would make it.
I think
2
that
first-rounders.
because you're talking that contract would have to be a reset of the non-QB market again, and that's above 40 million now.
But which team would actually do it? I think that's the.
Yeah.
Like, I think the only team would not be, because obviously when they talk about Myles Garrett, the team which kept popping up was the Eagles, but obviously the Cowboys never let him go. Even though he might want to go to the Philadelphia Eagles since he's a Philly native, but I can't imagine Jerry Jones sending him to Philadelphia. That would be nuts if that happened.
Yeah, no. Can't say that one. Like I say, likely have to be a pretty poor team as well, wouldn't it, to do it, and then you've got potentially where.
I think, looking at teams at the top of the draft, I'm like, would New England do it rather than taking Abdul Carter? And like I said, I do think there's a slight concern of Abdul Carter's medical issues.
Is this the stress fracture in his foot?
Yeah, like, I've seen some kind of vague reporting that he might opt to get surgery after the draft, which can really fuck your timeline up of that rookie year. Again, that's kind of speculation, obviously, until we know, but I mean, we know what Micah Parsons is. Abdul Carter looks great, but we don't know what he is. But obviously, you paid him a lot more. But like, New England can pay him a lot more. I wonder if that would be a consideration, and I can well imagine Mike were able to rip your hand off for it. Obviously, he's not the decision maker, but that's something I could see. I was just looking through over the cap, like players who are in a contract year coming up. Kayvon Thibodeau in New York hasn't been a smash. They could take Abdul Carter and then Thibodeau goes day 2 or day 3, probably day 2. I'm not sure. It's always hard to tell. One that I think could be real interesting, Jameson Williams. He's had obviously numerous off the field kind of not huge things, but like little things. I think wide receivers get paid a lot now. Detroit have a lot of people to pay coming up. Do they try and get out of that a year early and recoup something for him? Maybe. Aiden Hutchinson's going nowhere. Chris Olave, I don't think he'll be going anywhere.
Well, there's the Jets wide receiver as well. That's been
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. He's been mentioned a lot with trades as well, because obviously he seems like unhappy there, and with everything going on, and another restart.
Yeah, I think he hated Aaron Rodgers. Not much secret too. They didn't get along too well, so I think he's maybe calmed down a little, but I think if a great offer comes in, they kind of have to consider it. They've just re-signed Alan Lazard on a reduced salary. That should make zero difference to anybody, but just it did happen. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other really like contract year guys whose names stand out to me. Pickens, Pickens and Pitts, I think, are the most likely exciting names who could move.
Cool. Right, yo. Should we call it a wrap, gents?
Yeah, great show, very fun.
Something different, something we've never done before as well, and not quite mastered the art of it like the ATN guys, but something fun for us to do for a bit of a fill-in episode when our best laid plans dragged on and on before we could finish it. But we will have the Fans on the Clock draft part 2 for you next week. 17 people, because we didn't quite get to halfway in part 1. 17 GMs making their selections to complete the first round of the NFL draft in our very own mock version. And then we've got more draft content coming up. Draft all the way through till the live, what will be our 3rd annual Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover live draft extravaganza. I don't know what we call it. I'll have to find the title of the video, but it's the third one of those. We will be trying, as always, like we did last year, to get some guests on. Determined to get one of the UK guys that's out there at the draft on. We'll see. There's a Steelers watch party, draft watch party at Croke Park, so maybe we get some of the Steelers Island guys on. All possibilities. We're working hard on that in the background to bring you the best live NFL draft watch along. I hate that word, watch along, because I don't know if that's what it is, but our live analysis of the first round of the NFL draft. But until next week and our Fans on the Clock part 2, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. You can find us at GTW_GTC on X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. You can listen to the pod, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Overcast, and also get the video version on YouTube. Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. If you're not subscribed, just click the buttons, click the bell on YouTube, click subscribe on Spotify, Apple, whatever. It all helps, and we appreciate you all watching and listening. And we'll see you next week.